Good morning. It's Monday morning here in Cypress, Texas. A little brisk out. Yeah. So, um, I am putting together this PowerPoint. Basically, the history of money, stocks, and insurance. I did it because the I'm realizing that even like the Saving Your Future book stuff is too advanced for some people, right? So I compile information on how surety bonds were first started being used, and then how that led to the the beginning of money, and that was through Hammurabi, which some people think was Nimrod. When you look at, he was the ruler of Mesopotamia. He at 1750 was when his reign started. Abraham was actually born in like 1709 BC. So odds are, and Hammurabi inherited the kingdom from his father. So his father was probably the first Nimrod, okay, the one that was killed by a boar, right? And Hammurabi didn't create money, but he came up with the first rules on how of its use, okay. And then in 1602 was the first considered the first stock market, and that was with the Dutch East India Company, and pooling resources to build ships and to send ships out to get silk and spices and whatever else they got from India and China. And then from there, well, there came the U.S. stock market, right, and its ups and downs and all that. And then, of course, there was A.L. Williams and Charles Schwab, and then E.F. Hutton, and then there was A.L. Williams, and then WFG, and then Transamerica, all that, right? That's how that got going. So yesterday morning, right before I get up, I have this dream that God's telling me I got to teach about how he came off the gold standard. So I tell that to my roommate, and he says, gold means wisdom, God's wisdom, okay? And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. How when we came off the gold standard, that's when our society began to decline. So I looked up why that happened. I had always been taught that it happened so we could compete with trade with China, but that's not what happened. Well, what actually happened was Roosevelt took the U.S. population off the gold standard, so our dollars were no longer tied to gold, after World War II for the citizens of the United States. It was only Nixon that didn't stop allowing foreign currency holders to be able to exchange their dollars for gold. That's what Nixon did. But in the process, he created a fiat currency, so it greatly drove the value of the dollar down, made it easier to pay off the debt that we owed, right? And who do we owe that to? We owe that to the central bank, which is part of the World Bank, all right? And so all these different things started happening, right? But I saw a pattern. See Hammurabi or Nimrod, he got an edge on his neighbors because he was able to create a large army. He didn't invent the shekel, but he's the one that implemented the rules on how it would be used. Basically came up with a defined or a standard wage, okay, right, because of what his Nimrod's laws, right, which were 1,500 years before Moses, okay, or at least 1,000 years before Moses, and he ended up in these laws define the standard wage, the standard minimum wage. That's what and so people started lining up to join his military to make a standard wage, okay, and that's how he grew such a large army, and that's how he was able to conquer his neighbors and dominate, okay, because of that, okay. And so that's what's happening, okay, with what we're going to be taken to. This whole thing, it's been said that this whole FTX collapse was orchestrated, right? It was intentional. I don't know. God has a way of playing us, and making us, see what our nature is, and capitalizing on that to make happen what he wants to have happen. All right. But what'll happen is when they collapse the dollar, there's going to be strings attached to whatever currency they decide to implement. All right. You better watch out for that. Okay. It's going to be, that you have to get the jab or whatever, right? And so you got to watch out for that, because that's what's happening. And isn't that amazing? Just from a little bit of research, you start getting enough information to put things together, which most people don't. All right. Have a great Monday.